Hey, welcome back to the channel, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time joining, hey, thanks for showing up. So, I've come to the conclusion that it's time to make a stand for our anvil, because just holding it and trying to work on it while you're holding it just ain't quite working out. Ugh, there's got to be a better way to do this. So anyway, we're gonna get these here 4x4s, make a little stand out of it. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alrighty, y'all. So we're gonna make our anvil stand out of 4x4s. We're gonna do 3x3 on there. We got some liquid nails to tack in between there to make sure that they all get good and stick. And then of course we'll be screwing them all together as we go too. So I've got some massive 5-inch screws that we're going to be sticking in there, and then just making that stand. The middle piece of it I left intentionally short, so that way if I ever get to a spot, a permanent shop location that I want it, I can then sink another 4x4 into the ground and just set it right on top and add some stability and sturdiness to it. But we'll get to it here on making it. First we're going to get our liquid nails here good to go. Make sure that we get at least one side of these evened up. I didn't get them all cut quite the same when I was cutting. As long as I have one end where they're flush, I think I'll be alright. Just like that, first part of it is done. to flush as we can on here. Really, I think I'm going to take it to the corner over here. Because then, we got room to put a clamp on it. There we have the basis of our stand finished. Next we're gonna probably smooth out the top to make sure that we have more of a flush surface. I didn't get all of them cut exactly the right length when I was cutting it, but we'll get that fixed out on there and get it a little smoother. So we have our trusty belt sander here. We're gonna see what damage we can do to this. There's got to be a better way, but this is what I got, so let's roll. Okay, and there we have it. Got her pretty smoothed out, pretty flat on both sides of there. I just didn't end up showing the other side of it. We got her smoothed out on there, so now we can set our anvil on there and see how she looks. So it's pretty well going to end up sitting just like that on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trace around the anvil, and I'm actually going to sink down with a router, probably I think about 1/4 of an inch. So that way it's sitting down just a little bit in there. We'll put some silicone down there, help with sound, make sure that it's adhered to it also. And then we'll end up putting some chains around the edge here. So we'll get this lined out to where we're going to mark it, and then we'll get to routing. Alrighty, so now that we got it all traced out, we can get our router here. I got that set to 1/4 inch on there, and then we'll just draw out our trace line here and get it all cut out, and then we'll have it sitting in there. perfect by any means, but pretty well close, especially for what its purpose is, and that's just for an anvil to sit in. Okay, so got the first cut done, so now I can see where I need to cut at, and we'll trace it out here again so we can cut out just a little bit farther where we need to. I think we got it. Got her a little bit too wide in a couple spots, but that's alright. Figured that was going to happen as we went along there. But we'll get you a close-up here. See if I can get you off your tripod. So this is the finish that we have on there right now. Got some gaps on this side. It's going to be alright on that. But it's sitting down just that little bit how I wanted it. Just to help sturdy it up a little bit. There's going to be plenty of things holding it down, but a little lip along there I thought would be nice. Not necessary by any means. But for this section of my day, I think that's going to be about it. I'll probably jump back here in the next day or two and get the rest knocked out. But for y'all, it'll be just a second. Well, y'all, it's on to the next step of this. So I think for looks, I'm going to burn up the edges a little bit just to get it a little bit darker. That way it should match the chain and the anvil a little bit better. Just give it some aesthetics. I just think I like the look of it a little bit better than just the plain wood on there. So we'll get some fire going and burn up our edges. Got her toasted up pretty well how I wanted it, so we'll go to get on to the next step here. So we got our 100% silicone. We're going to use that underneath the anvil. It should stick it to it pretty well, and I believe it should also help with the sound, the ringing on there. So we'll see how it turns out on ringing wise once we get it down here. Imagine that's going to be plenty. I'm sure I'll have a little bit gush out here. But we'll find out when we set this anvil down. So the next thing that we're going to do on here is we're going to put some chains around it. That'll make sure that it has a good connection to our stand. It should also help with some more of that ringing too. So it's going to end up looking something like that on one side, and then we got another one to go on the other here. We're going to go ahead and get those our holes measured out on there so I know where to put in our lag screw. Hold off on marking out our second one. We're going to get this first side sit in here. Just kind of eyeballing for the center. Okay, so on this side, we'll get our hole marked out here. And then we want to go a little bit lower than what we marked. The reason we went a little bit lower is because we want it to pull these chains tight on there. As long as we can get the tip of that lag screw down in there. That pulled them real tight. I thought I had actually drilled the hole a little bit too far, but actually worked out pretty good. So those are really tight on there now, and we got a really good static connection on there. So one of the last things to check on there now is, how does it ring? So first we're going to put in just a couple clips of how it rang before, when it wasn't on any bass. And then I did a short clip of after I had that silicone on there on the stump here to see how it rang. And now we're going to check it out now that we got those chains on there. Which I am surprised, honestly. It's not something I've ever done before, but I'm shocked at the difference between how much ring there was when there was nothing in the silicone. I figured it wasn't going to get too much better with the chains, but it did, because there's still a little bit of ring when we just had that silicone on there. But now there's hardly any ring at all, if any. There's some slight. So yeah, color me surprised. So there you have it. We're finished up making that stand for the Anvil. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks really good. Really surprised with how little it rings compared to what it did. Wouldn't have known how to do it without watching a lot of Black Bear Forge, so I appreciate his videos. If you haven't checked him out, I would say go check him out. He is an expert in the craft and has been working on it for many years. But if you stuck around this long, I appreciate you watching to the end. if you're thinking about working on a project, whether it's making an anvil stand or some other idea that you have, just get out there and get started on it. And that's all there is to it. Once you get started, you can have some fun and learn along the way and come out with some pretty awesome things. So, until next time, thanks for watching. Have a good day.